If you don't take authority over your thoughts will take authority over your life. The mind is where fear is formed, where doubt is planted, and where belief is born. Romans 12:2 reminds us, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Mastering your life begins with mastering your internal dialogue. What you speak in silence echoes louder than the noise around you. There comes a moment when you realize that life isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. And the quality of your life, the direction of your choices, the weight of your peace, they all begin in one place, your mind. That sacred space between your ears is the battlefield where your future is either built or buried. Every doubt you've ever had, every time you talked yourself out of your own greatness, every time you made yourself small to fit into places you had already outgrown, it didn't start out there. It started in here. Your mind is powerful. It's not just a storage unit for thoughts. It's the steering wheel of your destiny. If you don't learn to master it, it will master you. That inner voice that tells you you're not enough. That isn't truth, it's programming. It's every wound, every betrayal, every limitation someone else spoke over you, that you unconsciously agreed with. And here's the truth. Just because a thought visits you doesn't mean you have to entertain it. Just because it's loud doesn't mean it's right. You are not the voice of your trauma. You are the voice of your transformation. Some of you are losing the battle in your mind before your feet ever touch the floor in the morning. You're waking up already defeated, already anxious, already playing a loop that says, "What if it goes wrong?" when you haven't even stepped into your day. And I want to tell you this. You cannot afford to be passive with your thoughts. You can't just wake up and hope for peace. You've got to build it. You've got to guard it. You've got to speak life when your mind wants to whisper fear. Your mind responds to repetition. That's why cycles keep repeating, because you haven't interrupted the story. You've kept telling yourself, "I always mess it up," or "I'll never find love," or "I'm just not like them." But what if that voice is lying? What if you've been listening to a broken narrative for so long, you started calling it reality? You see, mastery of the mind doesn't mean you never have negative thoughts. It means you no longer believe them without questioning their source. And sometimes, to win this war, you've got to get still. You've got to learn to silence the outside world long enough to hear the voice of your own wisdom. Because beneath all the noise, all the chaos, there's a part of you that already knows. There's a deeper part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. And the more time you spend in that space of reflection, of prayer, of intentional thought, the more power you gain to choose differently, to move forward with clarity, to take your life back from the lies that tried to shape you. You were never created to be ruled by fear. You were built for sound mind, not scattered thoughts. And the moment you take responsibility for what you allow to live in your head is the moment you take authority over your life. We live in a world that tells us to follow our hearts, to trust our feelings, to chase what feels good in the moment. But here's the thing. Your emotions are valid, they're real, they're powerful, but they were never meant to lead. You can feel it fully, honor it deeply, and still choose not to act from it. That's what emotional mastery is. It's not suppression. It's not pretending to be okay when you're breaking inside. It's standing in the middle of your storm and saying, asterisk, I will not let this define me. Asterisk, your emotions are not the enemy. They're teachers. Anger shows you where your boundaries were crossed. Sadness shows you what matters to you. Fear shows you what you haven't healed. But if you make decisions in the height of those feelings, when the pain is loud, when the tears are fresh, You risk burning bridges you might need later, saying things you can't unsay, becoming someone you don't even recognize. The strong ones aren't the ones who feel less. They're the ones who pause who breathe, who don't let the feeling become the fuel for destruction. There's something sacred about being able to say, yes, I'm angry, but I won't lash out. Or yes, I'm hurt, but I'm going to respond with grace. Because when you do that, you're choosing to rise above the chaos instead of drowning in it. You're choosing power over reaction. And don't get me wrong, it takes work, it takes presence. It takes getting quiet enough with yourself to say, where is this coming from? Is this about them, or is this about me? And I want you to hear me on this. Just because you feel something intensely doesn't make it truth. Emotions are temporary, they're waves. They rise, they crash, and then they settle. But if you let the waves steer your ship, you'll live your life shipwrecked. That's how you end up calling a moment a life sentence. That's how you end up building a future off of a temporary trigger. You don't have to follow every emotional impulse. You can say, I feel this, but I choose differently. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is sit with a feeling and not act on it . Let it pass through you like a storm through the sky. Let it teach you, but don't let it take you. You can cry and still be in control. You can be disappointed and still be disciplined. That's real emotional strength, not detachment, not denial, but conscious self-command. And when you master that, your peace becomes unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You can feel everything and still follow nothing but wisdom. One of the hardest truths we ever have to face is this: not everyone who's close to you is meant to go with you. Proximity doesn't equal purpose. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they're good for the direction you're heading now. And the longer you hold on to people out of guilt or habit, the longer you delay your growth. At some point, you have to ask yourself, are these relationships aligned with who I'm becoming, or just attached to who I used to be? There's a season for everyone, but not everyone is meant for every season. Some relationships were only meant to teach you, not travel with you. And if you're not careful, you'll keep dragging dead weight up a mountain you were meant to climb freely. You'll confuse history for destiny, but love rooted in purpose doesn't just feel good. It builds good. It challenges you, supports your higher self, holds you accountable to your values. If someone in your life is constantly draining you, disrespecting your boundaries, or dismissing your growth, you don't owe them a permanent seat just because they were there when you started. We often keep people around because we're afraid of the void their absence might leave. But that space, that silence, it's sacred. That space is where clarity speaks. That space is where you meet you. And when you learn to be okay with that, you start attracting people who respect your peace instead of threatening it. You stop chasing connection and start cultivating alignment. And you have to understand relationships aren't just emotional, they're spiritual. They affect your energy, your mindset, your future. The wrong people can make you question your worth. The right people will remind you of it when you forget. That's why who you let into your inner world is not just a preference, it's a principle. And if someone doesn't value your vision, doesn't speak life into your spirit, doesn't honor your growth, you can still love them and let them go. Choosing purpose over proximity doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It's not about cutting people off out of bitterness. It's about creating space for the relationships that speak to your calling, not just your comfort. Sometimes you'll walk alone for a while, but don't confuse that with loneliness, that solitude. It's a sacred season. It's when you hear God the loudest. It's when you begin to recognize who's really walking asterisk with asterisk you, and who is just standing asterisk near asterisk you. So don't cling to connection for the sake of convenience. Don't lower your standards so you can keep a seat filled. You're not losing people. You're learning who's real. You're not abandoning anyone. You're aligning with your assignment. Because the people meant for your purpose won't make you shrink to stay connected. They'll water your growth and walk beside you, even when the road gets narrow. Time is one of those sacred gifts we don't fully appreciate until we've lost it. And by the time most people realize how valuable it is, they've already traded too much of it away on distractions, on people who didn't see them, on cycles that didn't serve them. But once you truly grasp that every hour is a seed, everything changes. You stop moving through life like you've got forever. You start becoming intentional, deliberate, purposeful, because you understand that every moment is either planting a future or delaying one. You can always make more money. You can start a new relationship. You can rebuild your body, your brand, your dreams. But you can never reclaim time that's already been spent. And yet, we give it away so casually, we scroll. We procrastinate. We say yes to things that drain us and no to the things that would grow us. Not because we don't care, but because we haven't truly counted the cost. Because deep down, part of us thinks tomorrow will always be waiting, but it won't. Time waits for no one, and it honors those who honor it. When you start treating your time like sacred ground, your standards shift. You stop answering calls that disrupt your peace. You stop explaining yourself to people who only listen to respond, not to understand. You stop showing up for roles you've already outgrown. Because you know now, every hour you spend should align with the person you're becoming, not just the version of yourself you've been trying to maintain. You see, productivity isn't just about doing more. It's about doing what matters. It's about aligning your calendar with your calling. Because if you don't plan your life, life will plan it for you. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your best years building someone else's vision while neglecting your own. You'll confuse being busy with being effective, and they are asterisk, not asterisk the same. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to rest, but rest with intention. Use silence as strategy, because even your rest can be a form of productivity when it's aligned with restoration, not avoidance. When you stop running from what needs healing and start using your time to build what matters most, your character, your vision, your faith, that's when the seeds you're planting begin to bear fruit. Time mastery isn't just about managing hours. It's about stewarding your life. It's about waking up and asking yourself, is what I'm doing today moving me closer to who I said I want to be? Because you can't keep saying you want the harvest while wasting the seed. You can't pray for the door while sleeping through the preparation. Your time is your testimony, and when you begin to spend it like it's sacred, you'll start to see that everything you need to build the life you dream of was already in your hands. There comes a point when merely surviving no longer satisfies the soul. You wake up one day and something inside you says, asterisk, I was made for more than this. Asterisk, that voice is purpose calling, not the version of you shaped by fear or past mistakes, but the real you. The you that was born with something sacred to give this world. And the truth is, you weren't created to just exist. You were created to asterisk, execute asterisk, to build, to impact, to move in alignment with the assignment only asterisk you asterisk were given. Purpose is not just a feeling. It's a responsibility. It's not about waiting for a sign or a perfect moment. It's about doing the next right thing even when it's scary, even when no one's clapping, even when the outcome is uncertain. And if you keep waiting until you're confident, you'll never begin. You don't find purpose by thinking about it. You find it by moving by showing up in the silence, by choosing faith over fear, clarity over comfort, obedience over approval. Some of you are sitting on ideas, gifts, visions that could transform not just your life, but the lives of others. But because it hasn't been validated yet, you hesitate, you shrink, you procrastinate. But let me tell you something. Your purpose doesn't need permission to be real. Just because they don't see it doesn't mean it's not in you. And just because the process is hard doesn't mean it's not divine. In fact, the more resistance you face, the more confirmation you have that you're walking in something powerful. Because the enemy of purpose isn't failure. It's distraction. It's settling for busy over meaningful. It's comparing your calling to someone else's highlight reel and convincing yourself that you're behind. But you're not behind. You're being built, molded, refined. And when you stop chasing perfection and start chasing purpose, everything changes. You stop moving for applause and you start moving from alignment. You stop asking, do they like it? And start asking, is this what I'm called to do? And yes, it's going to cost you. Purpose always requires sacrifice, comfort, convenience, sometimes even connection. But what you gain in return is far greater clarity, impact, peace. Because when you're living on purpose, even your pain starts to make sense. Even the setbacks serve a role. You realize it was never just about achieving something. It was about becoming someone. So you can keep waiting for someone to give you the green light, or you can realize the light's been green. It's been green since the day you were born, and now it's on you to move, because a vision without action is just potential collecting dust. And the world doesn't need more potential. The world needs people who are brave enough to show up, speak up, and build what's inside them. There's a part of the journey that logic just can't explain. A point where your plans no longer fit the process, and your strength isn't enough to carry the weight. That's where faith begins, not when everything makes sense, but when nothing does. Faith doesn't ask you to have all the answers. It asks you to move anyway, to trust the unseen, to believe that what's ahead is worth the stretch, even when all you have is a whisper in your spirit saying, keep going. Faith is a quiet kind of courage. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just shows up. It gets up again. It takes the next step when you can't even see the staircase. It says, even if I don't know how, I believe it will. Because the truth is, some of the greatest breakthroughs happen right after the moment you almost gave up. Right after the tears. Right after the silence. Right after the closed door that made you question everything. That's when something shifts, not on the outside, but inside of you. When you learn to walk by faith, you stop being ruled by what you see. You stop letting your current reality convince you that your future has no chance. You begin to understand that just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. Just because you can't trace God's hand doesn't mean He's not moving. Purpose doesn't always come with a blueprint. Sometimes it comes with a burden, a calling that won't let you rest, a stirring that keeps you awake at night. And in those moments when it feels like nothing is happening, something is. Growth is happening. Character is being built. Your roots are going deeper than you know. We want miracles to show up in big, dramatic ways. But sometimes the miracle is in your endurance, in your decision not to quit, in your ability to trust when there's no proof, no applause, no evidence. Just a deep knowing that you were made for more than what you see right now. That's what faith is. It's not pretending the mountain isn't there. It's climbing it anyway. It's standing in the middle of uncertainty and declaring, "I still believe." And listen, faith doesn't mean you won't have questions. It just means you don't let the questions stop you. You keep building, you keep praying, you keep preparing for the thing you can't yet see, because you know that delay is not defeat. You know that divine timing is real, and nothing meant for you can pass you by when you stay in alignment with your calling. So if you're in a season where it feels like nothing's working, like the doors aren't opening, like the answers aren't coming, don't lose heart. Don't abandon the vision. Keep planting, keep showing up, because faith isn't about seeing it to believe it. It's about believing it ** until * you see it.